Hi there, it's Monday here again at the LIT Health and Wellbeing series. So today is all about energy balls. So we're going to make these really versatile and easy to make snacks that you can have at your 11s or with a cup of tea before you go to bed. Okay, so we're going to start off with some energy balls today. So these ones are really simple. You don't need any equipment at all to do these particular energy balls. And there's only 5 ingredients. So the 5 ingredients are oats, seeds, honey, peanut butter, and a few chocolate chips, just for a little bit of dippement. So we're going to start off, we're going to add our oats first. So you're going to need a large mixing bowl and your wooden spoon again. So we're going to get a cup of oats. And roughly about half a cup of smooth peanut butter if you can. Look, if you need to, if you only have crunchy, that's fine. It'll just be a little bit harder to mix. So I'm kind of going to roughly eyeball this, but about half a cup of peanut butter. Perfect. We're going to use about a tablespoon of honey. Add that in. Just going to add a little sprinkle of seeds. So again, I'm using chia seeds, but any seeds at all are absolutely fine. If you like a little bit more of a crunch, using something like sesame seeds or pumpkin seeds might be a little bit more to your taste. And finally, the best part, some dark chocolate chips. So we're just going to use a handful of these. We won't go too mad, seeing as it's January. We're going to pop them in. So once we have all the ingredients, we're just going to mix. And I suppose what we're trying to really do is we're trying to bind the peanut butter with the dry ingredients. So we're going to give that a good mix. Now, if you prefer, you could pop on some gloves and you can mix them with your hands. It might be a little bit easier to do. And just don't be afraid. So what I tend to do is I tend to draw my spoon back, and it just really helps to kind of bind them all nice and firmly into the bowl. So again, if you're finding that the mix is a little bit too dry, you can add some water. Okay, so this is pretty much all mixed up now. Right, so this is my first tip of the day. When you are putting energy balls into the fridge and you want to put them on a plate, the best thing to do is to add a layer of cling film to your plate. And what that will do is it will stop the energy balls when they dry from sticking to your plate, and then when you take them off the plate, you end up with half the energy ball on the plate. And it kind of defeats the purpose of it. So add a layer of cling film to your plate before you place your balls on the plate. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to just take a handful of the balls. Now, they may be a little bit crumbly, but that's okay, because as you make the balls with your hands, they will combine together. Now, this is the first, I suppose, step where you kind of can tell you might need to add a little bit more water. But no, these ones are actually pretty okay. So give them a nice good squeeze, really compact them in, and you have your little balls. Okay, and you can just repeat this process with each section. You can make them as big or as small as you like. Now these again are really nice with a cup of tea, so you can have them at your 11 o'clock break. You can have them maybe with your cup of tea before you go to bed. They're a nice balanced snack in that they have some fibre, some kind of good carbohydrates in there from the oats. You have your healthy fats from your peanut butter. And then of course you have your carbohydrates from your honey there as well. And believe it or not, oats actually are quite substantial in terms of their protein content as well. So you do, plus your peanut butter is going to add to your protein content there. So you're going to kind of be providing a nice broad range of nutrients, all packed up into these little balls. And then of course then you have, as I like to call it, the little bit of divilment with the chocolate chips. Okay, so you can just work away. You probably get about 15 to 20 balls. So you can just keep working along with those. Now, if maybe energy balls are really not for you and you'd prefer something a little bit bigger, you can go with some energy bars. So with our energy bars, you simply take your whole mix, add it into a kind of a deep but small bowl. You can line it with some grease-proof paper again, just so nothing sticks to the sides of the bowl. Pop it into your fridge for maybe a half an hour or an hour. And once it's set, get a nice knife, a kind of a deep knife, and you can slice them as thick or as small as you like. Okay, so you're looking at something roughly around this size, so a nice substantial snack to have with your tea. Next up, we have another set of energy balls. Now these ones are slightly different in that you're going to need a food processor. They're really, really simple as well. We only have 3 ingredients that we have to use. And again, you can mix and match other ingredients there to suit whatever preferences you have. So I'll just take you through the ingredients that we absolutely, definitely need for the recipe. So the first thing is cashew nuts. Now, I would really, really advise that if you're going to make these, that it is cashew nuts that you choose, as opposed to any other nuts, because they blend up into a nice creamy consistency. The next thing is dates. Now I have the dates here in a bowl of hot water, and simply to soak them and to soften them so that they blend into a nice smooth consistency. And the final ingredient is either cacao or cocoa powder, whatever you can get your hands on. So all of these ingredients are really, really simple to get. You can get them in your local supermarket. They're not overly expensive at all. Now, I also have included some shredded coconut here, and simply just to be able to coat the energy balls in, and I'll explain why it might be a really, really handy trick in a little bit. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to blitz our nuts. So it's really, really important that you blitz the nuts first, because if you add them in with other ingredients, they're not going to bind into that nice soft consistency. So we're just going to open up our processor, take our full bag of nuts and pop it in. So we're closing up our processor, and this is going to take a minute, approximately about a minute, depending on the power of the processor that you're using. So after about 30 seconds, you can just take off the lid. So most processors come with this type of removable lid, just so that you can have a look in. They're not quite small enough just yet. So I'm going to put it on a slightly higher speed. Okay, and that is absolutely perfect. So I'm just going to show you very quickly what this should look like. So you can see it's a kind of a crumbly, almost like a biscuit texture to the nuts. So once they're blitzed, you're going to take your dates. Now, even though the dates are in water, we're going to actually discard the majority of this water. So we're just going to take our dates and place them into our food processor. So dates are really high in fibre, but another really nice thing about dates is they give a quite caramel taste to foods. So if you wanted to make a caramel sauce or any kind of a caramel ingredient, if you use some dates with some hot water, it's going to give you a kind of a healthier version of a caramel sauce. So we're going to add our dates, and then finally we're going to add our cocoa powder. So the darker the cocoa powder, the more richer the taste that you're going to get. So we're going to add 2 tablespoons of our cocoa powder. Now I just want to add here also that if you are somebody who likes to supplement with some protein powder or has protein powder at home, these are actually a really nice energy ball to add protein powder to too, if you wanted to increase that protein content of your snack. So once we have all of these added into our processor, we're going to close it again and we're going to blitz it. So again, you can just take a little check and just have a look. So there are actually 2 types of energy balls that you can make. So this one is really, really nice, this version of it. So as you can see, it's this dark kind of nutty appearance. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to make a couple of energy balls just like this. And they're almost like a Ferrero Rocher, so they're really, really nice. We have that caramel flavour from our dates, we have that kind of rich chocolatey flavour from our cocoa powder, and then we have our nuts from our cashews. So for safety's sake, what I would advise is take your bowl off your processor and place it on your table. So what we're going to do here is we're going to just make our balls, so roll them up into our hands to about this size. So these are absolutely gorgeous. So we can make a couple of them like this. Now what I have to say, I'm making these energy balls for years and I don't always get the consistency right. So I'm going to show you what happens if you maybe let a little bit of water slip into the processor, or if the mix is a little bit too moist. I'll show you what you can do then. So we'll just leave a couple of we'll call them the Ferrero Rocher balls. And then what we might do is we might just add a tiny bit of water into our mix so that it gets quite moist. And this is where the shredded coconut is going to come in. So we're going to place the processor back on its stand, pop the lid back on, and we can put its top back on as well, and we're going to mix it again. So what you can now see is that we have this mound, okay, this big bolus, but it's quite sticky. So this is not going to have the same consistency as the previous ball. So what we're going to do is, this is where gloves are actually really, really handy. And if you don't have access to gloves, if you simply wet your hands, it's going to make it a lot easier to roll these balls up. So what we're going to do is we're going to roll them up, and then we're going to take our shredded coconut and we're going to roll the balls in the coconut. And what the shredded coconut will do is it will essentially create a layer so that the balls will actually harden in the fridge, and they'll be really easy to pick up. So there's nothing as bad as maybe you're in work and you're having a cup of coffee and you go to eat something and all of a sudden all your hands are destroyed in chocolate. So by placing the shredded coconut around the balls, you're going to stop that from happening. So again, we'll just pop off our processor off the stand. And as I said, roll up the balls, roll them in the shredded coconut. And of course you can do the sequence the exact same way that I just did it there, and you can actually end up having 2 different types, I suppose, of energy balls. Now with these energy balls, they will keep in the fridge for about 5 days, but they freeze really well as well. So if you find that just you've maybe an hour or two to do a bit of batch cooking or to do a bit of prep for some snacks for the week, you can actually nearly do about a month's amount if you really wanted to. So if you were kind of limiting yourself to 1 or 2 energy balls a day, but maybe you made a batch of 20 or 40, don't worry, just pop them into an airtight lunch box and pop them into your freezer, and they will last. They'll take a couple of hours to defrost, but they'll be good to go then. They'll actually defrost perfectly. That's it for today. So I hope you enjoyed making those energy balls, and these videos are going to stay on all our social media platforms for you to go back and perfect them. Tomorrow, Michael Fenley will be back with a resistance training session, so I hope that you enjoy it.